Thanks for tuning in to the Drive On podcast, where we're focused on giving hope and strength to the entire military community. Whether you're a veteran, active duty, guard, reserve, or a family member, this podcast will share inspirational stories and resources that are useful to you. I'm your host, Scott DeLucio, and now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Drive On podcast. Today, my guest is Jean Adam. Jean is an Army reservist who noticed that many of his soldiers were unaware of a lot of the opportunities that were available to them. And he's here today to talk about some of those opportunities and how other leaders throughout the military can help their troops to take advantage of some of these opportunities and lead them in the right direction. So welcome to the show, Jean. I'm glad to have you here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Nice to meet you, Scott. How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's great. And I'm
Cool,
glad
cool.
you're here because this is a topic that's kind of near and dear to me, because basically part of this whole podcast is just exposing the resources that are out there for people, whether they're
Absolutely.
currently serving in the military or they're veterans or whatever the case may be. There's tons of opportunities, there's tons of resources, there's just things out there. And a lot of times it's like, I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall because people just don't know about them. And
Yeah.
I got to imagine that's a lot of what you were feeling yourself in your situation when you're leading troops and you see people out there not taking advantage of some of these resources that are available to them. And you're like, but I know about these things. I got to let them know about it. So tell us a little bit about, before we get into that a little bit more, but tell us about yourself and your background, just so people kind of have an idea who we're talking about here.
So I've been in the Army Reserves 8 years, going on 9 in about 2 months. And my entire military career has been in the Army Reserve. I did the basic training, did AIT, and spent the rest of my time in the reserve. So I have no active duty experience with the exception of the Army Reserve orders that I've particularly done, which necessarily isn't even active duty. I'm an E5 now. I got promoted 2018, looking to hopefully get, E6 soon. And I really think that my development as a soldier came a lot from leaders in my first unit. And when I got promoted out and now I'm in a unit that's at company level, I realized that like a lot of these junior enlisted soldiers, many of them come into the unit great soldiers, motivated, ready to get the ball rolling. They just realize it's just weekend drill. And then by the time about a year goes by, they're already fed up. And I think a lot of it pertains to the fact that they don't know some of the outlets that, and the resources available to them to help them, whether it's with the military or with just a daily lifestyle. So I've seen a lot of great soldiers turn into, I don't want to say bad soldiers, but, you know, people who have so much potential just lose it. That's
Yeah.
basically the easiest way to put it.
Yeah. They don't live up to their full potential, right? There's more in them. You could see it in them, but it's like they just don't let all that grow.
Yeah, and I see it happen so often. I was a squad leader maybe about 2 years ago, and then like after I got a new position in the unit, some of the soldiers who were in my squad, they're just like, I'm never re-enlisting. I can't wait to get out. And they came in ready to do 20 and more. And I came in ready to do 20 and more. And I think this is probably going to be my last contract, but I still understand that there were a lot of benefits that I took advantage of that people really didn't know about. And I think the first thing we really have to discuss is obviously healthcare and dental, because that's a big thing today. Healthcare is expensive. Some of these people, they might be either in school, they just might not even have health insurance and not know that the Army Reserve provides a very affordable health insurance. And they also provide affordable dental coverage that's through TRICARE. And I think dental, I don't even like have to pay it out of pocket. It just comes out of my drill check. And some of these leaders are not passing this information on to their soldiers. So something that's like that easy, like I feel like every soldier should know about these things.
Right. That's a great point that you put, because like the amount that you pay comes out of your drill check,
That's
every month.
dental. The actual health coverage, I think it's like maybe $50 a month. You pay that out of pocket, but you get health insurance.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a great thing to have. And quite frankly, I know I was in the National Guard, so I'm we probably got paid similarly as far as things like that. You're not joining the reserves or the National Guard for the paycheck because
Yeah.
quite frankly, you don't get paid all that much
Yeah.
to do that, right? And so it's kind of like a nice little extra spending money that you have
Mhm.
every month. But when you could take some of that money and you could put it towards something useful like healthcare, dental care, things like that, why wouldn't you do that? Put it towards that. If your job that you have maybe doesn't offer those types of benefits, or maybe the benefits aren't all that great, you can have pretty decent coverage through the military, even though you are a reservist or a National Guard soldier. Those things still exist. So that's like a great benefit that exists that I didn't know about it personally when I was in the National Guard, that these things existed. And obviously looking into it a little bit more, you find out that certain things were available. And then you start to learn that it's like, oh, great. Could have done that, but too late now, right? But yeah, all these people, like, I mean, just health and dental care, like that's a great benefit that's available to them. So that way their healthcare doesn't slip while they're serving. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like you should be
Yeah.
in pretty peak physical condition, right?
Yeah. And so I'd say about a few years into my military service, a soldier that I'd served with, she had to have like surgery that put her out. And I think something was wrong with her lungs. And I always thought, like, for a second, like, because she had started a GoFundMe to help with her medical bills. And I'm like, man, like, I feel like that's just failure from leaderships because I would assume that she didn't know that she could have medical coverage in that
Right.
sense where something so traumatic happened that she didn't have the bills to pay for it and she had to start a crowdfunding. And I feel like that shouldn't happen to soldiers.
No, it definitely shouldn't. They should be taken care of. They should be taken care of, especially while they're serving. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what branch you're serving in or what component, whether it's active duty, reserves, guard,
Yeah.
any of those. They all should be getting taken care of with this stuff because, quite frankly, if you don't have a healthy fighting force, how do you expect to go and fight? Like these things should be
Absolutely.
taken care of to some extent, right? Um, and I know that, so there's the medical, there's the dental. I know there's tons of other opportunities available to service members in all the branches. And obviously, you're familiar with some of these. What are some of the other opportunities that you found yourself discussing with soldiers more often than others throughout your time in the reserves?
A very big one is this thing called tour of duty, mob cop.
Okay.
So, tour of duty is basically the big go-to for if you want to find a unit who wants help or possibly like just do like a short tour or a long tour of duty is available. The thing that Another thing that it's kind of like a failure among leaders is that it's only available on government computers. So you have to be at your unit. So naturally, when I found out about this, I would like take it upon myself and like call an AGR and be like, "Hey, can I just come in and look at tour of duty?" And how AGR is, they like seeing people come in anyway. So that's just something they would have absolutely no issue with. So I go in there and you Google, it's called MobCop, OBCOP. And it'll take you to, I believe it's the Mississippi National Guard resource. And then there's a link that says tour of duty. And when you go open it up and you can find ever is available and you can also see how many other people have applied for certain positions. So like, for example, I am a 25 uniform, I am a 92 alpha, and I am a hazmat NCO. But you can also look up double O Gulf positions, which are basically like any soldier of any MOS can take care of like this job. There's no jobs that's like basically for like cleaning the building, but basically cleaning a building is a job that any soldier can do.
Sure.
So when you go, you can look up like, are there any slots for 25 uniforms for E5s? Or sometimes they do like one rank up, one rank down. So I might be able to find an E6 slot and find a tour that might be for like 89 days and then apply for. There's point of contacts that you can get on the website. So you can call these people and be like, "Hey, like I know you're looking for a 25 uniform. Can I come in? Like, is it possible like if I just send you like my ERB and I get my paperwork done in order to get these orders, they'll take you." I've done, I want to say 4 tours through tour of duty. One of them was it was a 35-day order over at Fort McCoy. And if it's over 30 days, you get your BAH. So you're gonna get nice little both bulk pay. And like it's simple once you actually get to the website to look up these certain positions where soldiers can find these types of things. And once your unit clears you, then you belong to the other unit. Once you're done with that order, they send you right back. And these things, they go there. There's some that are like 2 years long. There's deployments. If you want to look to deploy, you can find an overseas deployment. There's stuff that you can find. Like I'm a reservist in Pennsylvania. One of the things that I would love to do would be to serve in a unit in Hawaii. Now, like naturally, everybody's going to apply to those units in Hawaii. But you never know. You might end up finding yourself doing a tour in Italy or Guam or something like that. And like that's the beauty of the reserves. Like I think that I'd probably say that there's, with the exception of deployments, I'd probably say like a good 98% of just Army reservists, National Guards people have never done anything outside of like schools like ALC or BLC or things like that and just natural growth, but like you can actually find like places where you could go to work. And we've gone to a point now that like drill has basically become like we're not even doing our jobs anymore because we're so focused on being green, being ready, and you have like SRPs and things like that. And not enough time is spent doing your job. You can find like a little order where, you know, you can do a job. And then if you're like in E5 or above, you put that on your NCOER, that's gonna look nice.
All right. Yeah. Well, that is true, and especially reservists like yourself, where you have the opportunity to put in for deployments. Right. If there's a unit that's deploying and they need to plus up their numbers to be able to go on this deployment, and you want to deploy to wherever it is that they're going, and that's a lot of people I know. When I went to Afghanistan, a lot of people I know wanted to go on this deployment because they wanted the money. They didn't have families back home that they were really worried about. It's good money for the time that we were over there, and that's what they wanted to do. Signed up to go on this deployment, and they volunteered. They weren't necessarily in that unit, but they decided to fill in some spots that we needed,
Yeah.
and that's how we ended up doing that. But even for reservists who are looking at or even travel to check out other parts of the country, right? You don't
Yeah.
necessarily get to do that. Like an active duty, you get moved around from place to place,
Yeah,
you
regularly.
know,
And then you have like
regularly.
and then you might have like 45 days in Germany, come back home and then like do like
Yeah.
another and then like stay at home for a while and then go to another country. Like they move a
Right.
lot.
Right. And but with the reserves, National Guard, you don't have those opportunities. You're usually just staying
Yeah.
close to home. And so with that, you can go to a unit in California or Florida or some other place, Hawaii, like you said, that I've always wanted to check that place out. Sound like a cool place. You're going there and you live there obviously for a period of time. And that's a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah.
And like you said, that looks good when you come to that board and they're trying to determine like, all right, who are we promoting next? And it's like, oh, I want the guy who's, going off and finding all these opportunities and going and volunteering his time and everything to go help out these other units and everything. Like that seems like a soldier who's pretty squared away to me.
Mhm. That's another thing that I was talking about, like from the sense is that like if these soldiers don't know that, then how will they ever get that opportunity where they just don't know they can actually go work somewhere else, but they just don't know that. They just show up to their unit, they do drill, and they go home.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues is that it may be definitely is a leadership issue where
Mhm.
it's a failure of leadership. But if the people who are the leaders, the NCOs and even the officers who are in these units, if at some point they were the Joes coming up through the system, that they were the privates, they were all the way through, right? And if they never found out about that opportunity, how are they going to be able to tell their soldiers about those
Yeah.
opportunities? So I think it's an educational thing. Like the
Mhm.
whole military needs to say, hey, look, we have all of these opportunities available. Here are all these things that nobody's using or very few people are using in comparison to what we think should be done, and distribute that out instead of doing some of this other stuff that
Yeah.
I don't want to say instead of, because some of the stuff is valuable. And I don't want to like badmouth any of the stuff that's being done as far as like some of the trainings and stuff that
Yeah.
the military puts through. Some of it is valuable, but maybe putting something out there, just saying, hey, look, there's all this stuff. There's a tour of duty. Here's how you get on the system to go and search for it. Here's how you apply for TRICARE benefits and all this other, like, going through that whole thing so that people actually know not only A, that these things are available to them, but
Yeah.
B, how to get access to them. I think that's another
Mhm.
issue too, is there's some barriers to getting access to it, like having to be on a government computer as
Yeah.
opposed to just sitting in your boxers at home Googling this. Like,
Yeah, this is
there's
my personal computer. I wish I could go on tour duty.
right, right. You could be doing that right now, looking up for these opportunities, but like you can only do that when you're at your unit or wherever it is that you have access to these government computers. So,
Yeah.
and obviously you want to do it, but then so does somebody else. And
Yeah.
how many computers does the unit really have? And so you got to be able to get business done too.
Mm.
That's a barrier, I think, to being able to access some of these opportunities is just the education piece of it. But also, I think the government probably could do a little better in terms of making that accessibility available to more people, you know?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right as far as like it's an educational thing. I didn't know anything about this stuff. And basically, like, I did take it among myself, but I'm not every soldier. Not every soldier's me. And
Yeah.
at least I can say for my first unit, I was very lucky to have that leadership who was able to assist in anything and was like very not only informative, but if he didn't know something, he would get the answer for me in the span of a second. And I'll just shout him out. He's retired now, but that was my ex NCOIC. His name was he was Sergeant First Class Isaac, but I first met him as Staff Sergeant Isaac. And that's the type of leadership that I think that really helps soldiers grow. And not only necessarily just like as a ranking structure, but just like in life as general in general. Just know that you know, they can rely on you. Just
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's a huge thing, I think, for soldiers to be able to know that they can rely on their leadership to help them. That's going to make a soldier who comes in who's all motivated, ready to go, ready to be all in for the next 20 years
yeah,
and have that person keep that motivation up throughout the next a couple decades as opposed to having it dwindle out after the first couple of years.
mhm,
And when you know that someone is there looking out for you, who's got your back, who is gonna make sure that all the opportunities that are available to you are accessible to you, letting you know what they are first off. And that's definitely a leadership thing. And I think that is something that more leaders should take upon themselves, like you did, and go out and figure out what opportunities are available. If the unit isn't putting that stuff out there, or the army or whatever, if they don't have a central resource, which actually that's another question. Is there even a central resource that lists some of these things that are available? If there isn't, then it's really on the leaders to go out there and try to compile some of this stuff as best as they can, right?
mhm, yeah. Another thing that came up was the idea of like installations and usage, especially for like a lot of these Army Reserve and National Guards, they may or may not drill on an installation. For those that don't drill on an installation and maybe have like a unit building, they don't understand the resources that are available to them on the installation, right? So, as a reservist, as a National Guardsman, you can shop at the PX, you can shop at the commissary, right? You can use the gym for free. You just have to know which installation is closest to home. For me, like I was playing on the soccer team over at Fort Dix. That was like a great experience. And we played against like other teams, and I was the only reservist on the team. And here I was playing with active duty soldiers, Marines, Air Force, Coasties, like all on one team because it's the joint base and that's where like everybody's there. And that was like a really great experience. But a lot of these soldiers don't even know that they can just find a point of contact from MWR and just ask, "Hey, what leagues or what services are available to me?" Like naturally, I'll just reach out to the point of contact, and I'll because usually I just do basketball and soccer. I'll just be like, "Hey, are there any basketball leagues available or any soccer leagues available where I can go play?" Because like it's good to get out there, but I also think that it's a great resource for PT. A lot of people in the reserves and the National Guards don't get the same amount of PT that active duty does. And we've seen time and time again, like soldiers can't pass PT. And like, I don't PT regularly. I've never failed a PT test. All I do, join soccer leagues, basketball leagues, and then after the game or something, I'll go work out and lift. And that's kept me going the last 9 years. So that was something that like I never had to worry about because I was naturally getting like the regular doses of PT. And I've also seen like a lot of people who they'll like do one or the other. They'll either lift and not get enough cardio, or they'll do cardio and not get enough lifting. And I think these resources like can really help people. Like you don't have to be a basketball player to play basketball in the league. You could just go for PT. Same thing. They had a flag football league. They have golf, and like
Mhm.
these are just things that are available to soldiers. And it's another thing that like naturally, like when soldiers come to me, I'll tell them about these resources. But if I wasn't there, I feel like they would just be like left empty.
Sure. And I was, like I said, National Guard, and a lot of times I might have even heard of some of these resources, like knowing that there's golf or some other recreational leagues or something available on an active duty base. But I think at the time, I probably would have just assumed, well, I'm not active duty, so that doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
I can't go on the active duty base and take advantage of these active duty resources because, well, I'm not active duty. So that is just like another misconception that people probably have. I know I did. And so it's really just, again, education. Now the people who are listening, not,
Yeah.
and even for some veterans, there are things that
Yes.
are available on active duty bases that you can go and you can shop at the PX. You can use some of the other resources that are available. Obviously not everything that's available. You're not taking advantage of housing or whatever,
Mhm.
I don't think necessarily there, but you're able to use some of the resources that are available on the bases. And if you live near enough to a base, it may make sense. Obviously,
So
if it's an hour or two away, it doesn't make sense to use the gym there. Obviously,
yeah.
that doesn't make sense, but it may make sense for certain things. So,
And honestly, like you might have a gym 30 minutes from you that you pay $50 a month. And you might question yourself, is it worth the extra half hour for free?
that's true. What is your time worth too? If you can spend that time and make up that money, okay, fine. That's fine. If that extra half hour is worth that $50 to you, okay, fine. That makes sense. But if not, if you would rather not spend the money, you can
There's
always
still
make it
other
out
stuff
there.
available.
Yeah, exactly. So these are, I mean, these are some great resources. So we talked about healthcare, dental care, tour duty, using the military installation, and all the things that come along with that. Anything else that you could think of off the top of your head that might
Yeah, yeah,
be
yeah.
like an unknown
So
resources?
yeah, so knowing I want to use the term knowing the system, like knowing which soldier knows how to help. So I'll use, for example, right? Every building has a career counselor. You may not know that a career counselor is there to help you with your career, whether it be reenlistment, whether you want to transfer, whether you're looking to do warrant officer school or OCS, and you just might not know like what they're there for. But it's kind of another resource to just kind of know your system, know your game, know your chain of command as well. I say this with tread lightly, but don't be afraid to jump the chain. If you feel that something isn't getting done for you from whether it be a direct supervisor or something like that, find another person who may help. And it doesn't have know your chain, but also like if a career counselor is an E7 and you're an E2, they're not part of your chain. So don't be afraid to go knock on the door and ask them how they help you. Or whether it be, what are those folks? Not the chaplain, but the chaplain is also a good resource as well. But there are civilian people who you go into their office, you just want to talk about certain things. They're there to help. And you just have to understand like who they are, what they do, how they can help you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I know for me, when I first came back from Afghanistan, there was mental health issues and stuff like that
yeah,
that were going around, and I ended up going to the vet center to talk to somebody, and there were
yeah,
counselors there who I was able to talk to and get the help that I needed. Like that is
yeah.
a resource that's available.
And like, don't be afraid, like, to actually do that stuff. Like, if you feel like you just went through, it could have even like it sounds funny, but it could even be like basic training. If Some people, they can't grasp it mentally, and don't be afraid to like go out and just ask for like some mental help or just like help with something or anything like that, because that's what's going to make you better as a person and as a soldier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because when you take care of yourself, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, you're able to show up refreshed, ready to go, and actually accomplish your mission, whatever the job is that you have. You're able to do that. But if you are carrying all this other baggage, so you got your physical health is slipping and you have all these issues, or your mental health is slipping and you got other things going on, you're not going to be there 100%. So taking care of yourself is not, some people think it may be selfish. Oh, I'm taking too much time for myself. I got to focus on it. Like, if you do all that, you're gonna be able to come in at 100% as opposed to coming
Mhm.
in at 50% or maybe even lower, and then you're not gonna be there for people. You're not gonna be a leader like yourself who's is taking the time to learn about these opportunities and educating your troops about these things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remembered like the example when said a career counselor. I wanted to say, know your AGRs,
Mhm.
especially for company level. If you're at company level, know the ones at battalion level. My first unit, I was at brigade level. So I had luxury with AGRs. But even like down at company level, know your AGRs and like know their purpose.
Sure.
Specifically, things like your S1, your training NCO. Training NCO is another thing for like not necessarily tour duty, but like if you want to go on orders, say you want to go to combative school or something like that, you can ask your training NCO if there's any open positions. And if you're all green, they're not going to have an issue with sending like a high, highly motivated junior enlisted to go to combative school. That's just something
Right.
that these people like they should really know about. Like, and I'm going to use a net like my unit training NCO. He's a good NCO, and I think he just got done being a training NCO. But like he's there to help, but not enough people take it among themselves to just walk into his office and say, "Hey, what schools are available for me?" And they
Right.
don't really understand that much.
Yeah, and knowing that there are schools out there,
Yeah.
is another thing too. I mean, and knowing which ones are even relevant,
Yeah.
to your career path and things like that. I was infantry, so Ranger School, Airborne, all those kind of things, a lot of
Yeah.
was very common, mountain warfare, all those types of things were very common with the people I served with, but there may be other things and other, MOSs that are more relevant to,
Mhm.
what you do, and just, maybe just go in and talk with the person who's in charge of training and just say like what makes sense for this career path, like this is where I want to be in 5 years, what makes the most sense for me to look into to start heading towards that path. And
Yeah. A year and a half ago, I got a call from an AGR and he's like, "Hey, we want to send somebody out to this hazmat school." And I was like, "Okay, what do I got to do?" He was like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Why not?" And it's kind of funny because we always joke about this because I thought it was going to be like an easy school. And it was like quite possibly the hardest school that I've done since I've been in the military. And it was only 2 weeks. But these are things that, like, as an E5, I was able to do, but like I didn't even know about it. I was just told
sure.
about it. Yeah. But like if you're willing to get yourself out there, at some point you can be rewarded with certain things. And like now, like my position in the unit is the hazmat NCO, and that was just because they had to send somebody to school.
Right. And so now you are the guy that they look to for anything hazmat related.
Yeah.
Well, that's now that gives you a little bit more visibility, a little bit more, not that you weren't important before, but a little bit more importance to what it is that you do within your unit.
And it
And
gives me a it gives me a little chamois. Hey, we need you to do this. Is it hazmat related? Nah.
there you go. No, but honestly, I think things like that, those types of opportunities would be a great thing for the training NCOs to maybe just take 5 minutes to just when the company is formed up or whatever, before or after drill, probably better before drill because after drill, everyone's ready to just bounce and
Yeah.
get out of there. But just say, hey, we have these schools available. Anyone interested, come to my office and we'll get you hooked up.
Yeah.
And just announce it and let people know about it. That's such a super simple way to just
Yeah.
solve this problem. Like just make an announcement. But first sergeant's going to be blabbing his mouth anyway. So just take 5 minutes and say something actually useful. about whatever the schools may be. So yeah, I mean, these are great things to think about. And I think anyone out there who's listening, who's still involved either with the reserves, doesn't matter what your unit is, what doesn't matter what component of the military you're in, there are opportunities out there available to everybody. And the opportunities, I don't know if they go to waste, if like no one, like someone eventually is going to find these opportunities, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't be hard. As a leader, you shouldn't make it hard
That's
for
the thing.
your,
Yeah.
your, your
It
people to
should
find
not
it.
be hard. Yeah.
Right.
And I
Right.
think if more people find some of these resources, more will be readily available too. Like
Exactly.
tour duty is only so limited, but I think like once they see like people are actually interested in like going and doing some of these orders, they might start handing out more money for like certain units to just do regular missions and just bring people who may not or they may be tailored with the unit.
Right, and even training opportunities, like different
Yeah.
schools, there's only a limited number of spots for certain schools throughout the year, but if more people are applying and going to these schools and being successful, just knowing the way government works, they're gonna start throwing more money at these things, and they'll open up more seats, and more opportunities will become available, and that eventually is gonna help the military overall because
I was just about to say the exact same thing.
you're gonna have a much better trained military force throughout the military. Doesn't matter the branch, you know?
And you get your I see so often like they like in like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram comments, this is why the military's retention rate is so low. And it's like it's just these simple little things like and like I told you, like I've seen just great soldiers, highly motivated come in and they're like just done with it. And
Sure.
and they're like and it's like, man, like I wish people like what I knew now back then, or even like even if they're still like just not as motivated, just try and help them as much as I possibly can.
Right, and do you know of any, like, central resource, like a website or something like that, that has any of this stuff listed that people can find out on their own? Or when you were looking things up, did you come across anything like that, or did you just kinda just trial and error, just start searching for stuff that was available?
So I can't think of it off the top of my head but that website where you get like TRICARE, I can 100% if you Google TRICARE Army Reserve or Guard, it'll take you right to the website. And that's a very good resource as well. And ATARS, I believe that's the one for training NCOs to locate schools that are readily available for just soldiers. I'm not too sure that if you're not a training NCO, though, if you can have access to see these things, but that is another one. And I don't know, I think it changed names, but it used to be called ALMS, ALMS. And that's where there were some other like online training schools that I used to find primarily SSD, whether it be SSD 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that was another resource that's readily available. But I will say this, there should always be someone in your unit who can, whether it's a leader or who can assist you just to these types of information to you. I had the luxury of having great leadership my first unit. And now I just got to kind of take it upon myself as a leader. But it's just, I don't see as much leadership around. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and
And
especially
that
as people get out of their unit, that they move to a different unit, or they just get out of the military altogether.
in general. And that's another thing. Like some of these people, their entire military career is like in a company level at a regular building. Like they never go to an installation unless it's like for AT, where they're just in the field all 14 days. And that's their entire military experience. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to get out after?
Right, exactly, and because that was very much my military experience. Was I was in a company, and it was yeah, AT was, like, the only time that we were on active duty bases doing anything at all, but it was like, we're in the field most of the
Yeah.
time. I mean,
And you
that's
like you can't even do anything there.
right, exactly, yeah, you're not going to take advantage of any of the resources available on the base. You're out in the field, you're taking advantage of the ticks and the other crap that you have crawling up your ass as you're crawling around in the field. But no, I mean, even something as simple like if you are a leader in a unit, a lot of units have like bulletin board type things, like cork boards outside an office or whatever. If you find resources and you could put together a list of 4, 5, 6 different resources that might be available, websites, phone numbers, whatever the case may be, print them out on a piece of paper, stick them on the board so people can check it out as they're walking by. And
Yeah,
that may be it's better than nothing. It's not obviously the best solution. It's better than nothing. So leaders out there, if you know about stuff, put something together. Even ask the other leaders in your unit about things that they know and compile everything into one list and put it out there for people.
absolutely.
So, well, this has been a pretty eye-opening conversation, I think, for me and hopefully for some of the listeners as well, knowing some of the things that are available to people, especially reservists and guard service members.
And with that
Things.
said, I don't know everything as well. Like there's
Sure.
resources probably available that I don't know about. And if you know about something, don't be afraid to let your soldiers know as well. I love learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't think anybody out there is gonna be like, all right, I know too many resources. Like, no, like just put them out there. Like let people know whether they use them or not, that's up to them. But you can only lead the horse to water. You can't make them drink. So
Yeah.
do what you can to help out the other people. And by the way, we've been saying a lot of stuff like leaders need to do this, leaders need to do that. But if you're an E3 or something and you're out there and you found out about some resource from somebody, it could be a buddy in another unit or something like that. Or even if you're listening to this podcast right now and it's like, man, I never knew about any of this stuff. Let me go tell some of these other guys that I know from my unit and just share this information with them. And now that many more people will know about it. Like a leader doesn't necessarily have to be an NCO or an officer. Like you can
Absolutely.
lead at any level. So
Yeah.
take charge and share that information. Even give it to your NCO, your direct NCO, and let them distribute some of that information if need. But do the work and put it out there and help other people. I think that's really the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
So, well, Gene, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed this conversation
Me
and
too.
sharing all this stuff. So, thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge of these resources with me and the listeners. And I just want to give you the last couple minutes here. If you had anything else that you wanted to share with the listeners, feel free to go ahead and drop that.
So what I do as a civilian, I made a documentary. It's called Finding Betty and it's on Tubi. You can watch it for free. Other than that, drive on and keep doing good things. So I always tell my soldiers just you don't have to be the best soldier, you just have to be the best you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Scott, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Drive On podcast. If you want to support the show, please check out Scott's book, Surviving Son, on Amazon. All of the sales from that book go directly back into this podcast and work to help veterans in need. You can also follow the Drive On podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts.